Alex stood at the base of the mountain, his breath forming small clouds in the crisp morning air. The path ahead twisted upward, disappearing into the mist that clung to the mountainside. At 16, he was the youngest person attempting the summit this season. Most of his peers were spending their summer playing video games or hanging out at the mall, but something within Alex had been stirring, a restlessness, a hunger for something more. 6 months ago, he'd been failing 3 classes, spending nights gaming until dawn, and watching his parents' disappointment grow with each progress report. The turning point came when Mr. Reeves, his history teacher, took him aside after class. "I see something in you that you don't see in yourself," Mr. Reeves had said, his weathered face serious. "Potential isn't something you're born with or without, it's something you build, day by day." Those words had planted a seed. Alex had begun small, setting his alarm 30 minutes earlier, replacing 1 hour of gaming with reading, completing homework before dinner. The changes felt insignificant at first, almost laughably simple, but as weeks passed, those small victories accumulated. C's became B's. One book led to another. His mind, once foggy from lack of sleep and purpose, began to sharpen. When Mr. Reeves mentioned a youth mountaineering program, Alex surprised himself by applying. Now, staring up at the daunting peak, he questioned his decision. Having second thoughts? A girl about his age adjusted her backpack beside him. Her name was May, he remembered from orientation. She had a quiet confidence that made Alex both intimidated and curious. "Just wondering if I'm in over my head," he admitted. "Everyone is," she replied with a smile. "That's kind of the point." The first day nearly broke him. His muscles screamed as they hiked 6 hours uphill to base camp. While others chatted and took photos, Alex focused solely on placing one foot in front of the other. That night, as he lay in his tent, every fiber of his body urged him to quit. But morning came, and with it, Alex rose. He made a promise to himself. Just one more day. He could always turn back tomorrow. The second day brought rain. Cold, relentless sheets that transformed the trail into mud. Alex slipped twice, scraping his palms raw on rocks. He noticed Henry helping others secure their gear, never complaining despite the miserable conditions. When he offered him half his chocolate bar during a brief rest, the simple kindness nearly undid him. "Why are you doing this?" he asked him. He considered the question seriously. "Because each time I push past what I think is my limit, I discover it wasn't my limit at all." That night, muscles aching but spirit somehow lighter, Alex wrote in the journal he'd brought. Day 2. "I thought the mountain was the challenge. Maybe the mountain is just revealing the challenge that was already inside me." On the third day, the group dynamics shifted. People who had started as strangers began to function as a team. Alex found himself offering a hand to others at difficult passes, sharing his water when someone's bottle leaked. For the first time, he understood that strength wasn't just about individual endurance. It was about connection, about becoming part of something larger than himself. The air grew thinner as they climbed higher. Each breath became deliberate, precious. Alex's world narrowed to essentials: breath, step, breath, step. When his mind wandered to complaints, the cold, the ache in his shoulders, the blisters forming on his heels, he gently guided it back to the present moment. He was learning the subtle art of being fully where he was. On the morning of the 5th day, their guide announced that the final ascent would begin at 2 a.m. They would reach the summit at sunrise if all went well. That evening, as nervousness rippled through the camp, Alex sought out May. "What if I can't make it?" he asked, voicing the fear that had haunted him since day 1. "Then you'll know your current limit," she said simply, "and next time, you'll go further." The final climb was unlike anything Alex had experienced. Headlamps illuminated just a few feet ahead as they navigated switchbacks in the dark. The cold bit through layers of clothing. Every 30 steps, he paused to catch his breath. The air so thin it felt like breathing through a straw. An hour from the summit, one of their group turned back, overcome by altitude sickness. Alex watched the retreating headlamp and felt a moment of empathy rather than judgment. "We all have different mountains," he realized. When they finally reached the summit, The sky was lightening to pale gray. 16 people stood in reverent silence as the first golden rays of sun crested the horizon, illuminating a world of peaks and valleys below. Alex felt tears freeze on his cheeks, not from the biting wind, but from something deeper, a recognition of his own transformation. On the descent, his steps were sure, confident. The mountain had changed him, not by magic, but through the alchemy of sustained effort and purpose. He thought of the small decisions that had led him here. The alarm clock obeyed, the pages read, the distractions set aside. 3 weeks after returning home, Alex sat across from Mr. Reeves, sharing photos from the expedition. "The summit looks incredible," his teacher said, "but tell me about the journey." Alex considered the question. "I used to think life-changing moments had to be dramatic," he said slowly, "but it was the small choices that got me up that mountain, and it's the small choices that are getting me through calculus now," he added with a laugh. That fall, Alex started a hiking club at school. To his surprise, 15 students showed up for the first meeting, including some he'd never have expected. He didn't talk about transformation or self-improvement. He simply shared his experience and invited others to make their own journey. The mountain remained within him, not as a conquered challenge, but as a living reminder that the person he was becoming was built choice by choice, step by step. Some days were still hard. He still occasionally stayed up too late gaming or put off assignments. But he had learned that perfection wasn't the goal, consistency was, and each time he faltered, he remembered the feeling of standing at the summit, of knowing he had it within himself to climb higher than he'd thought possible. At night, before sleep, he often returned to the words he'd written on the final page of his journal. "The mountain didn't make me stronger. It showed me I already was." If this journey moved you, take the first small step. Like and subscribe. Every mountain is climbed one choice at a time.